Hello and welcome to the Seer 365 sessions, where we have, I hope, interesting conversations with various members of the Microsoft community. Today, we're going to be joined by Darren from xe.com, who's joining us from very warm, sunny Texas. As you can tell from his accent, he is definitely a native of Texas. But anyway, let me bring him in and we can have a chat with Darren.
Native
Darren,
of Texas.
howdy y'all.
A native of Texas.
Yeah,
Eastern Texas.
very, very eastern Texas. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite funny actually being at your event in London when everyone's like, "Hey, you're from Austin, Texas?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I was born in Milan Hospital just down the road."
Yeah, exactly. But you had your cowboy boots on.
There you go. Yeah.
So, why, as we normally do in these things, why didn't you introduce yourself and a little bit about XE?
So Darren Hutchinson, I lead the global enterprise team over at XE. Majority of your audience will be aware of XE from our currency converter. Been around for 30 years. That piece of technology has been consumed into the largest organizations in the world to provide information of where foreign exchange rates are, where they've been, and so forth. And I'm leading the team to take that into new territories, such as the Dynamics world.
Very cool. So let's start with that then, right? So, and I've been a user of the XE app on my phone for a long time. So what are you actually doing with Dynamics at the moment then?
So if I peel it back even further, we've got around about 20,000 corporations that use our payment service on a daily basis. So all scattered around the globe, from the UK to our friends down in Sydney, Australia. One of the challenges that these teams have from accounts payable perspective is they're using our proprietary technology, but then they have to do additional keystrokes to get that information from a foreign exchange perspective into their dynamic system. Because the team have been very technical focused for the last 30 years in placing technology in various systems, we have leveraged that expertise to now complement our currency data with our payments technology and embed that directly into the environments of Dynamics Finance and soon to be live Dynamics Business Central. So all within the same environment, being able to process your global payments and domestic payments at a click of a button.
So normally on these calls, I've frequently got an idea what the other person is talking about, right? So the last one we do one about support, I kind of understand support, or global rollouts of ERP systems and stuff. I kind of know. I'll be honest, your stuff, I'm not feigning ignorance on this one. I genuinely have got very little clue on this one. So why don't you sort of paint a picture about why a customer would need your service?
I think the easiest thing to connect the dots to is I am a company and I'm purchasing raw material, manufacturing company, purchasing raw material from Poland, and I'm based in the UK. They will have to pay for that item and those goods in a local currency. Now, you can either do that through your traditional banking method, or there are very, very good companies out there from a payment provider's perspective. And that's really where our expertise comes in. We have built a global network of payment institutions to be able to move money not only at speed, but in a very accurate manner and a very efficient manner. So that's really what we focus on, is that global monetary movements. As you expand on that and you get into multinationals, you will have organizations that are potentially going into new territories. Therefore, there's a funding exercise that needs to take place. Once that company gets into a stable manner, then they will start looking to potentially repatriate profits and so forth. So we support all the way across that gamut of paying a basic invoice to scaling into new territories, to then repatriating those profits and then taking that even further, risk management and so forth. So.
And I would imagine a better rate than I'd get by going to X bank or.
Yeah, the scales of economy. Basically, anyone who's done an economics class, the more you buy, the better price you get.
Sure.
So the standard rule of thumb. Price is obviously a very sensitive topic and something that everybody looks at. But there's more to it in terms of the timing of a transaction, having access to information. I don't have a crystal ball to tell you where the market's going to go, but we have enough resources to make a very, very calculated decision in terms of what is going on. If you look at news over the last 24 hours, UK might potentially raise interest rates once again. What does that actually mean for the pound? Therefore, the pound potentially will become more stronger. So it's that kind of insight that partnering with a company like XE will add to your team and kind of give you an extra resource from that perspective.
Well, if you find that crystal ball, by the way, we can make an awful lot of money. So
20 odd years in this industry, still searching for it, Richard. Still searching for it.
Well, let me know.
Yeah.
So, coming into the Dynamics world, then, I think I know the first time I heard about it, I was a bit confused because, again, no view via the app. So, how have the partners you've been working with? What were they saying?
It's been an interesting learning exercise for us. It's been received very, very well because there's only a few companies out there that are doing what we're trying to do in terms of embedded. Now you have the likes that are connected to banks from a file adoption perspective and consuming that banking file. Where we're different and what's exciting for the partners is we can really bridge that gap from creating those batch payment files and releasing those, but then also from a partner, creating an additional revenue stream because we're now capturing the side of the transaction. So every transaction that goes through, that's how we make money. It's very transactional business that we're in, and we can revenue share with partners to pass some of that revenue back to them. So implementation, we've tried to make it as very, very simple as possible. So it's very light lift for them, and the majority of the audience that operate throughout Europe, obviously the large MCNs that are in the platforms, will have a need for this product. So it's kind of ticks a lot of the boxes.
Yeah, I mean, I try and make these calls not particularly salesy, but I purposely am breaking the rules on this particular because I just think there's, and we were talking a while ago about this. If I think of all the customers I've dealt with over the years, by definition, if they're using finance supply chain management or they're using Business Central, certainly any customer of any size in Europe, most of the world, you will need that ability to transact in other currencies. So I think it's something that most, if not all, customers will want that's using Dynamics ERP. And then the margin share or the revenue split with the partners. I really do think this is a wonderful offering for most partners to have a look at. Clearly, everybody's going to make their own decision, but I just think what you guys have put together is pretty compelling.
And what I would say is we're kind of agnostic to transaction size as well. So that's a wonderful attribute of us. So if it's a business that is doing average invoices of $1,000 versus an average invoice size of 100,000, it doesn't matter to us. So we're totally agnostic to that, and everybody's welcome to come to the party effectively.
Cool. And then, so you said you were about to roll out a Business Central as well. That to me seems like a pretty wise move, being the fastest growing application in the Microsoft family. So, what's your sort of timeline looking like on that? I'm not going to hold you to it, by the way. I kind of know how bad that is, but
well, being new to the dynamic space and going to F&O first, it has been a learning curve.
Sure.
So we are, I would say, maybe 3 to 4 weeks away from deploying our first customers into the environment. So we have worked with our customers to make sure that we are building the technology that solves the problems that they face, removing those keystrokes. So we're going to give them access to it so we can do some transactions and everything's all singing and dancing. and then we will hopefully go live sometime mid August. Is our target date.
So I think one of the other things you very kindly showed me a demo. I'll pretend it was you that was running the demo, but I had a demo of implementing your solution in Dynamics fairly recently, and I think one of the things that I was really impressed with was the lack of effort required to deploy it in a customer. Now, I know that might sound a bit weird, where most Dynamics partners, a big chunk, well, the majority of their revenue comes from services. But right now, with the backlog of services most Dynamics partners have got, having something you can deploy with a customer that easily is pretty impressive. Do you want to talk about what that looks like from a customer perspective?
So from a F&O perspective, it is straightforward. So the biggest customization you need to do is around our compliance engine and making sure the vendor payments the vendor payments frame is configured with our compliance engine. So we've added a couple of additional fields. That's really the biggest lift that we need to do. Our most recent deployment, it was up and running within 24 hours. So that's how quick that's in F&O. In BC, we have tried to make this a plug and play solution, very straightforward and simple, that you can take it from the App Store, go into Sandbox, execute a few transactions, and then move it into prod pretty much straight away. So we have really, really tried to make it a simple solution to be able to deploy. And to be honest, Richard, that's been one of our challenges, is some of the partners are like, so where's the service revenue from this? And we're like, there isn't none. It's a plug and play solution. And we've tried to make it clean and simple to be able to get access to execute global payments as quickly as possible.
Yeah, look, I get it. You know, most Dynamics partners, the biggest chunk of their revenue is that services piece. But I think having another, and again, I try not to make these too salesy, but I'm going to struggle with this one because I honestly think it's a great solution. You know, trying to find additional revenue streams when you are hitting a boundary of how much services you can actually deliver without hiring more people, which is kind of the point of Guide. You know, I think being able to offer this to your install base, to new customers, you could almost have it as just a standard piece of every deal, to be honest, because there aren't many customers that won't be transacting in other currencies. So the ability to just offer it without, without having to wait for weeks and months to get people off on the bench to be able to do the work, I think it's actually really a big selling point for me.
Yeah, we've as I said, we've just tried to keep it as straightforward as possible, leverage as much of Microsoft's architecture and standard process as possible, and that sometimes is the challenge of how do you develop the technology by keeping it very streamlined, no new buttons, no new look and feels, and so forth, so that the customer knows, okay, this does look like a native product and so forth. And it's, as I said, it's one of the challenges of making sure that refinement is really done. So I appreciate your feedback and your candor. You've seen the platform, and it is straightforward, and you get access via tokenization API, and everything reconciles back into the system. So we're super proud of what we've built. I'm super chuffed with the team over in Bracknell and what they're doing to really push the edge of payment technology within the dynamic space.
You've also managed to pick up the Microsoft lingo of super.
Oh, really? You sure that's not been an American?
Yeah, well, if you're super pumped about stuff, then
yeah, super pumped. Totally
exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, look, I think it goes without saying. I think everybody should at least have a look at what you've done. You know, there aren't many customers that I certainly wouldn't at least mention it to and get a session lined up so they can see what it is. It's another revenue stream, super easy to deploy, with the backing of a company that has been around a long time. So I generally can't think of much to stand in the way of it. So congratulations to you and the team.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you having me on and sharing a bit more about what we're doing in this space.
Not at all. So look, if people have got to this point and like, do you know what, I should have a look at this, put the URL up there. It's nice and short. So, you know, go on there, have a look at it, get in contact. I'll put Darren's LinkedIn details. Well, actually, it'll be below. So you just get in contact with Darren, and he's got a team around the world who can help. But I definitely recommend you at least checking out and seeing if it's something that will work for you and your customers. So with that, then I just want to thank you, Darren, again for your time. Thanks for joining us, and I hope things cool down a little bit in Austin. At least you've got great barbecue to fall back on. Well, I'm standing next to the barbecue right now. Probably not.
It's not a great idea. What's the time? It's 8:15 in the morning, and it's already up over 80. So
that sounds like Wales.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well,
appreciate it, Richard.
No, thank you, and thanks everybody for joining us today. So please get in touch with Darren, or if I can help, let me know. And failing that, I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Thank you very much.
Take care.